Preacher, have you played Final Fantasy XIV? Are you keeping up with WoW news? And why is it that you're being asked to look at games that are in development months before they come out? There's a lot to talk about. Let's go. Before we get into the details, this video is brought to you by King's Bounty 2. More than happy to talk to these guys. King's Bounty was the first game that ever got me into open world RPGs. Back when I was a little boy on the Sega Mega Drive. That's the Genesis for Team USA. And King's Bounty 2 is launching this week, and we are going to be able to play it early, as well as show you some exciting upcoming footage of it. You're going to get to choose from 3 primary characters in this big narrative open world RPG. You're going to get Ava, Catherine, and Eliza that come with their own classes. You're going to be able to talent spec them out, build their own armor sets, but more importantly, you're going to be able to travel the land of Nostria, where you're going to get to recruit an entire army to your side, and that army is what you're going to use in this turn-based combat that you'll find throughout the world. You can decide to have dogs, archers. I know I had a huge amount of militia back in the day, undead, monsters, whatever it is and whatever skills they have in order to defeat the enemy, while planning ahead on what is a good combination and a good mix depending on what you might find. Not only that, you have a ton of narrative choices, which we fully expect from our RPGs these days. You can decide to team up with the dark and mysterious ones to maybe they'll help you out. You can go in with absolute brute force and put your big boots on and stamp all over the enemy, or you might be able to negotiate and work things out. Entirely up to you. And each of these narrative choices is going to play out in a completely different way, and I, for one, cannot wait to see how that works out. So thank you to King's Bounty 2 for sponsoring this video and providing us with some keys so we could have early access and play it on Twitch before the game came out. Do hit that link in the description to check out the game for yourselves. Preacher, what has it been like since you stopped covering World of Warcraft? So weird, dudes. So weird. I have all these like habits that are built into my fingers that I can't get rid of. Like every morning I still check MMO Champion. I still check over on the WoW subreddit, see what's going on. I can't help it. Keeping up with the news, a lot of stuff coming out. And as you can see, one of the reasons I stopped covering World of Warcraft is so much coverage of World of Warcraft now is entirely negative, and I don't want that in my life. I am more than happy to not have that in my life and just be like, oh, I've got to make a video on this now. Very cool. I liked what Belia did, where he looked into the numbers and stuff. It was solid research. We did the same thing. You might remember we partnered with Rated.io to look into those things, and we saw the same thing and did not want to cover it like at all. We were like, okay, it's like falling off a hill. This is just not, and I don't want to make negative videos. I never want to do that. So yeah, it looks pretty real to us. Backs up what we were seeing. Only 10% of people are raiding. That makes total sense. Like the big effect of Shadowlands has been on the raiders. Like people always get surprised by that stuff. Like, oh, well, you should stop making content for raiders. No, just stop driving the raiders out of the game would be a good idea to get those things done. But cool to see they're doing some cosmetic stuff to hopefully entice people to stick around for a little bit longer. The art team shouldn't interfere with the development side of whatever's coming in 9.2, so it'd be good to see what's going on there. Really hoping to see the actual staff and stuff tell us about the changes that are happening over there and if it's a better environment, that kind of thing. That's what I would love to see going forward. A few clarifications. Do I still play? I play for 2 hours on a Tuesday. It's my night out with the boys. That's what it is. That's probably going to come to an end soon. We did say 2 weeks originally when we formed my heroic team. That's all it is. Just a few guys from a number of mythic guilds, and so many guilds have collapsed now, actually. They don't even have a guild. But it's like a Tuesday beer night with the boys. It's just a laugh. Nobody needs any gear. We're like all gear capped. It's just a case of log in and play because we can all fit into there. That's that. And I should repeat, because so many people, especially during drama time, every time we appear on drama time, people are like, oh, I thought you weren't talking about World of Warcraft anymore. The reason we're not covering it is not just because of the lawsuit. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. It's a lot of other stuff that led to that point. So people still seem very confused on that topic. But no, that's the nature of the beast. I'll always be completely open and honest with you guys every single step of the way. What cool things have been happening? Dude, it's like another world. I swear to God. So we have decided to do what I want to do is I want to expose as many people to quality games as possible, because I've been playing games since I was like 3 years old, and I was not a World of Warcraft only or Warcraft Blizzard guy. I wasn't. I fell into that like purely by coincidence, to be honest with you. It just happened to be the game I was playing at the time, and I loved World of Warcraft immensely and still have like the fondest memories of it. But I've always been a multi-gamer, not a mono gamer, which is kind of a weird term. So having the freedom to go and just be like, that looks awesome. Let's play it. Let's do that. Let's do that. has been super cool. But more importantly, and I put this out on Twitter, which got a ridiculous response from you guys, is I've been dealing with a lot of developers recently. So I have had to sign an NDA. I am helping out with the development of a game that is not due out till like March next year, something like that. I can't tell you any more about that because I am under NDA, but it's super cool that people are reaching out. It's like, can you take a look and see what you think? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I've been trying to do that for years. Let's do that. That's been super cool. But more importantly, I've been talking to a lot of devs, like, behind the scenes. And I've tried to draw attention to that as much as possible because the difference, I cannot tell you, the absolute difference between my dealings with Blizzard and the dealings with these other developers has just been like ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous when it comes to just having a fun conversation about all working to the same thing. I often felt, and I've put this out many times, it's like Blizzard always felt like we were the enemy. Like we were like angry and upset and just like, or, you know, wanted too much. I remember, you guys probably remember, during the Najata PTR, I put out an enormous post on the actual official forums. I was like, fine, we'll go to the official forums. I do know the devs watch my videos and stuff, but I'll go over here. I'm not expecting my ideas to make sense. Like, a lot of the things we've suggested have gone into the game, but not everything, obviously, otherwise Master Looter would still be in the game. But a big thing about RPG stuff, because I love RPGs. Absolutely love RPGs. My favorite one of all time is Divinity Original Sin 2. Crisp game. Go and play it. But I was like, this, you know, Najata is such a cool opportunity for so many RPG things. And I spoke to somebody at BlizzCon about it, and they were like, yeah, it's not really the direction we're going. And then the next expansion is like, we're doing all this RPG stuff. And I was like, what? So weird. And it took like 5 or 6 years. I think it was 6 years before I ever spoke to somebody at Blizzard. Which is fine. I don't expect to be spoken to by anybody at all. But it was like, the impression was like, you know, the hand of God was approaching you. That's how it felt at the time. It was like the hand of God is approaching you. Flip to now. Where last week we covered like 5 different games. And I know the YouTube views are down. That's okay, man. That's okay in my book. Like, I'm happy with what we're doing, and we're going to get better at it. I know most of my audience just cares about MMOs or like big fancy RPGs at best. That's fine. That's okay. We're going through a change right now. That's okay, man. That's all right. But in this world over here, my goal is to like expose as many people to things that I think are cool and I'm passionate about. Because, you know, losing that passion for as long as I did about World of Warcraft is like rough, like internally. So if I'm passionate about X and Y, I'm going to talk about X and Y. And hopefully pass that passion and maybe catch your eye over there into the things that I create. That makes me super, super happy. But in that time, I've been talking to these devs who are like, it's just, they care so much. Like, it's crazy. Not to say Blizzard doesn't care, but the way they show that is just magnificent. Magnificent. And I can't use a better word for it. It's just getting involved, digging deep. When we find a problem, like, oh, yeah, dude. I can give you an example. We were playing Grime recently, and the devs were there. They were watching us play, and they knew they'd made a blunder. And it was coming up. So when you get to the very last boss of the game, like, it's all been building to here, and it's got super difficult platforming. It's really hard to get to the very last boss. They have a ladder. Up goes to... It's just literally a ladder in front of you, and above you is the last boss, and below the ladder is a checkpoint. So if the last boss kills you, you don't have to redo this ridiculously hard platforming section. But you can't see it, right? You can't see what's above you, and you can't see what's below you. So when you get there, you're like... which way shall I go? Up or down? So I went up, which meant the last boss. And I died, obviously. First time, last boss. And then that meant I had to redo the whole platform section. And the devs are like, yeah, I tried to warn you. And they did. They actually warned me before I got there. It was like, please go down the ladder. Because they knew they'd made such an elementary blunder in not really showing off what was there, that people would end up going to the last boss, getting their ass kicked, and have to redo this entire section, which wasn't the intention. They gave you a checkpoint, but you just couldn't see it. So it was one of those things where they were like, oh, we really fucked that up. Oh, well, you know, we're going to sort that out next time, and we're going to make sure we don't do that again in the future. I took it with like, yeah, you know, it was a fucking stupid mistake, man, whatever. What it wasn't is like dead silence, you know, like that's what I felt like sometimes with Blizz. It's like, hey, you kind of fucked up like benthic gems, right? Remember I asked Ian about it? And I gotta say, I know a lot of people hate Ian. I don't. Ian was always awesome with me, as was Josh and Morgan Day. When I spoke to these guys, they have that passion, they have that love. We don't always agree, but like, I don't have any hatred there. I just want to put that out because people believe that I hate them, and I'm like, I don't hate them at all. Like, I don't feel that way whatsoever. But they were like, yeah, we're going to, the next game we're totally going to sort something out. We might even patch something in to try and sort it out because it's a stupid thing. And they'd done it earlier as well with a quest that the wording was slightly off, so it led you in a completely the wrong direction. They're like, yeah, people keep getting stuck here. We're going to fix it. What a goof. But like open and chit-chatty about it and talking to us afterwards and being like, let's work on a project in the future. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. Let's make that happen. And the same again happened with the Forgotten City, where they were like, yeah, we could have done X and Y better. We could do this better. And we're working on it and we can't wait. But, we love to see how people are playing. And I think that was a big difference to the fact that I loved World of Warcraft. And never really felt that way back. Which is just, I'm not shitting on Blizzard. I'm just saying it's a different world. Like, being in this different world is crazy. It's really crazy. And it's so awesome to see, like, this fire to, like, move forward and get things done. And see what we can make happen there. So, very excited about that. People always ask me, like, about Final Fantasy XIV. Look, I get it. I'm not ready to jump into another MMO right now. Like, I've got New World coming, and I'm going to, like, check New World out. But as I said in my coverage of that game, I don't think it's going to last more than 2, 3, 4 weeks. And then the hype will die off that. All new MMOs suffer from this problem of having this longevity issue, and its endgame doesn't look particularly good, but the journey's going to be fine, and I'm fine to go on that journey. When it comes to Final Fantasy XIV, honestly, I'm just not ready to jump into that kind of commitment right now. I'm so happy with these games that we're covering right now, which are like 4 or 5 days worth of gameplay that is absolutely immensely fun, super cool, super interesting, and then we move on to the next thing. That's really satiating a need that I love, that I've not had for a while, because it's been like World of Warcraft every single day. So I'm taking a break from that before we jump into something like that. I'm not saying never to Final Fantasy XIV. Not doing that. But right now, it's not what I want, is just to go from MMO to MMO. Because, I've been talking about that stuff for like 10 years. So taking that break has been fantastic. But I just want to say, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, is although not many of you are watching SideQuest right now, and it's building, which is great. It's like it's doing what it's supposed to do. And it will be bringing in a new audience. I just want to say, for those of you who are like overwhelmingly liking that video compared to our WoW stuff, we might get a video with like 150,000 views on World of Warcraft, but you might get 2, 3K likes. We're seeing videos with like 10K views with like 2K likes. Like, thank you. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. And now we're getting this attention, and we're speaking, the team internally, like poor Nups, who works on our team, is just constantly now in talks with people for really cool projects that you guys are going to find out over the times, because people are like, hey, let's talk. Let's do some stuff. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it. So you'll see more about that coming up, as well as our September event I'll be letting you know about in a couple of days. That we've been planning since like January. Hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you so much for listening, guys. Love you all. Thank you so much for the support. I can't express to you enough how happy I feel internally right now. You guys are awesome. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.